My name is Patsy McKie and I live in Manchester. Mothers Against Violence was born in 1999, and I said born because it was kind of the inception of a group of women coming together to look at the issues that were happening in our communities. It started in 1989 with the shooting of a young man, and at around that time drugs had just kind of come into our community, and young men who didn't have jobs were actually selling drugs to get some money in their pockets. They would leave school and didn't have jobs, and so whoever was supplying the drugs saw them as really kind of easy target. And what's going to happen then, these young people now are selling drugs and they're making quite a lot of money. And when young men like that, they tend to kind of show everybody what they've got, and they start wearing things and people start seeing them. And then it just started getting worse. Young men were being shot and killed for one reason or the other, and so a group of women decided to get together and see what we can do about what was happening in our community, because so many young men were dying. We did a lot of discussion about what we thought the young people needed in their lives, and education became top, and so we kind of focus on education and how and what we are going to do to help the young men. And that's how Mothers Against Violence was born. In the meantime, while the shooting and killing were going on, I was actually praying, asking God, what can we do to stop what's going on? And it was in 1999 that I became a part of the group, and the reason for doing so is because my son was shot and killed. A week later, a young man knocked on my door, which was one of my son's friends, and he told me a group of mothers were meeting and would like to actually look at what's happening in the community and what they can do. Now, I turned up at that meeting. I had to think about it a lot. I turned up at that meeting a week after my son was dead, and the discussion took place about what was happening and why it was happening. And so it then carried on. We learned a lot. Well, I learned a lot. The only reason I went there really was to find out who killed my son and why. But I got much more than that. And so I continued going to the meetings, and eventually we then started working together and going into schools, going to prisons, going to universities, colleges, junior school, everywhere that we knew young people were, we would go and we would talk to them about the issues and why they should not become a part of that kind of issue, because it's really not good. So we did that over the years, and we see change started happening in our community. I believe once you start working together to bring change in your community, especially when negative things are happening in your community, and you work together, change will come. And that's what we saw. I believe, again, for me, it's, my continual talking to my Heavenly Father and finding out what I can do and how I can do it brought me to that place where we start seeing things happen. And it's continued to happen. We take young people away for residential, we take them on residential, we put on workshops, we work with them, we take them sometimes into the different part of the country, and we work with them and find out what they want and how they see life and why do they think these things are happening. And once you start doing that, change happens to the young people, but also it happens to the older one as well. And you will have a result. There always will be a good result. Maybe not as we want to see it completely finished, but some things start working, and there have to be a start, a middle and an end to everything.
So Patsy, what do you think is the impact of gang crime on UK society?
I think it is devastating. It devastates people's lives, individual lives, family life, community. It brings fear into our community because people really don't know what to do and how to deal with it. As I think about it more and more, and I see the deaths of young men in our community and in the different parts of the United Kingdom, I really feel very sad about it. And I really believe we should be doing a lot more as people to bring change in our communities. It impacts the family, especially those who have lost their children, and the neighborhood, because for the people who actually knew those children in the neighborhood, they too suffer, especially if they had a good relationship with them. So it's really all around devastation, and parents and families sometimes become mentally ill because of that. Socially, they are not communicating and doing the things that they would normally do. It's really break up the norm in their family, really, and send people spinning around, not knowing what they're doing, trying to get help from different places and trying to ease their pain. Not only their pain as parents, but if they have brothers and sisters, other children, extended family, it's just devastating the whole of the human being lives, really, and the community. One of the things that happen in our community is the young people are so affected, even though they haven't had someone from their family who's been killed or stabbed. They're fearful to go out at night on the road, just so fearful that some of them are staying at home. They don't want to go out. So one of the things I'd like to say to parents is how they deal with their children. It is important how they deal with their children, because as you deal with your children become what and how you deal with them. They respond. And then you also find that there are, school times and things like that where they are affected in some way or the other, and where they may be abused in one way or the other. And that as well could actually make them move to that way of using guns, using knives, using gangs to, to devastate our communities. So I think parents need to take responsibility of their children.